Welcome to the Disabled Podcast, starring your host, Christian Reitz.
Hot dog, let's go!
Welcome to the Disabled Podcast, the show that incorporates disabilities with the magic of Disney. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 1, entitled Season 3 Intro. Be sure to use our hashtag the Disabled Podcast when sharing this podcast to all social media platforms. Now again, that's hashtag the Disabled Podcast when sharing this podcast to all social media platforms. And now, here's your host, Christian Reitz. Welcome back, everybody, to Season 3, Episode number 1 of the Disabled Podcast. In this week's episode, what we're going to do is I'm basically going to take you through all of what you can expect for Season 3 of the Disabled Podcast. But first, we need to talk about this real quick because I don't know if a lot of you really know, at least those of you that are on Facebook, you do know, the last few weeks or so, I've been doing a contest to win a free t-shirt from the Disabled Podcast. It is, of course, the gray and yellow microphone t-shirt that says my catchphrase, and we'll see you real soon. And it's a medium-sized t-shirt. So here's what I want to do. In Season 2 or Season 3, or sorry, not Season 2, Episode 2 or Episode 3, of Season 3, I'm actually going to announce the winner during that time because I want to make sure you guys have enough opportunities to actually go and enter to win for the t-shirt. So be on the lookout for when I'm going to announce that for probably the next episode of the Disabled Podcast. Again, all the details are on the Facebook page for the Disabled Podcast. So if you do not follow the Disabled Podcast Facebook page, make sure you go do that because that's where I'm going to post updates every week about what you can expect for the next episode of the Disabled Podcast. So that's one thing. Now, let's talk about some of the episodes that we're going to be doing over the next several weeks and really over the next several months. So some of the episodes that I'm going to do are talking about things like the Disability Access Service Pass for the Walt Disney World Resort. Now, what is the DAS Pass? Well, really, just to go ahead and explain a little bit of it, the DAS Pass is for people with disabilities. It helps you, it's kind of like a fast pass for disabilities where you kind of get to skip the line or wait in a shorter line so that you can enjoy your favorite attraction or shows. So we're going to talk about some of the requirements for that, but we're also going to be talking about some of the controversy in the last few years surrounding the DAS Pass and how Disney has been changing things a lot. So you don't want to miss that episode of the Disabled Podcast. And then eventually what we're going to do is I'm actually going to be interviewing for a couple episodes friends of mine that one of them actually has a small business that I'm actually going to be interviewing her for. She's an amazing friend of mine. Her name is Faith. She's absolutely incredible. So be on the lookout for that episode coming very soon. And again, the Facebook page will tell you all you need to know about the future episodes of the Disabled Podcast. We're also going to be talking about the Disney College Program in one of the episodes in this season. So I'm going to be interviewing friends of mine who have been in the college program or currently working in the college program right now as we speak. So be sure to look out for that episode too. That'll probably be in episode 5 or 6, depending on how my schedule goes and how we can get coordinating schedules. And then we're going to talk a lot about park hopping and rope drop. So here in the next episode, we're actually going to talk about the DAS Pass. And then in episode 3, we're going to talk about rope dropping the theme parks. What is rope dropping? I'm going to explain all of that. And I'm going to explain to you what my favorite parks are to rope drop as somebody with a disability. And really, I'm going to talk to you about the parks that I don't think are really worth it. Now, again, these are just going to be my opinions. It's really up to you when you plan your next trip with your family to determine what is the best one for you. So again, these are just some of the episodes that I have, and I know this episode was a very short episode, but I wanted to make sure that you guys were informed about some of the episodes. And don't worry, this whole setup will get better as we progress through the season. So please, if you haven't already subscribed, whether you're on YouTube or you follow me on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you go do that and join me on this journey for Season 3 of the Disabled Podcast. Well, y'all, that's all I have for this week's episode of the Disabled Podcast. And as I always say, have a wonderful day, everybody, and we'll see ya
Real soon.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Disabled Podcast. Be sure to use our hashtag the Disabled Podcast, when sharing this podcast to all of your social media platforms. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see ya real soon.